What is up, guys? I am super excited to be here today because I have some amazing news. I am sitting right now with somebody who's extremely meaningful in my life, and he's doing some amazing things. I'm extremely proud of him. But most importantly, I can't wait to have him at the next Kinetic event, sharing some amazing insights of what's going on in the creator economy and very heavily in his specific industry, which is very unique what he's doing. So, because I want to hype this up, let me help you. Not even help you. Let me welcome the one and only, my best friend, Bryan, a man with a plan who's impacting the creator economy and the real estate market like no other. What's up, bro?
Hey, thank you very much, Anthony. That's a great introduction. You know, I can't. There's nothing more for me to say. That was great. Thank you for introducing me. That was amazing.
Of course, man. So how you been, dude?
Good, man. Excited here. I'm honored to be part of the Nucleus community, creating content, working together, and educating those that are looking to break into the creator economy because it's difficult. It's difficult if you don't have the right process, systems, and at least the guidance. And the good thing is that Nucleus offers that. You guys provide the foundation and the building blocks for somebody to launch out of and build something really special if they take the time and energy to do so.
Well, I'll tell you this, speaking about the creator economy, it's something that I would say watching you progress from where you first started, right? We can say like it was not something that you immediately jumped in the moment it came out, right? You were doing other things, you were working in a different industry, and you were consuming more at the time than even being the one producing the content. And then it got to the point where even we started collaborating. You came on being a co-host with Sweat It Out. You started doing your content. You were trying to figure things out for yourself. And then it was like, I remember there was a point where you kind of reached a place where you're like, let me take a step back and let me really analyze what I'm doing. Let me really see the type of content I'm putting out there. So I'm not just putting content. And we had some great stuff, when we did Sweat It Out. We had some great interviews, some great guest appearances. We had some great conversations. But on your personal side, you really did a lot of homework. You really spent a lot of time dissecting the industry that you wanted to play in. You kept talking about how you wanted to do something different in the real estate market. And I'm bringing this up because, you've done an amazing job in a short period of time after you took that pause and said, let me actually do this the right way. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Because not everybody can just pause something that they're doing, especially once they already started getting a little momentum. They're getting used to posting content consistently, and then go on a complete pause. And you were pausing for a while. It wasn't just like a pause of like, a month. You paused it for a while. So to come back with that with a whole different perspective and energy is pretty amazing. So if you could talk a little bit about that or how you did that, I think that would be amazing for the audience.
I think the biggest thing about taking a break from something that may not be going the direction that you want. I think it's the most important thing as content creators. When we all start out, we all have an initial plan of how we want our content to be. We'll look at other content creators. We'll try to compare their content. We even try to modify our own content, maybe to look like something like theirs. And the key here is when you're creating content, it's not about just to push or post every day. And there's a lot of gurus out there, they say post every single day or do this or tips or tricks. The real sauce, and that's something that I've learned here, is you got to create content that's captivating, that people want to watch, that you yourself consume, which is the most important thing. If you're going to create content just to produce and think that social media is automatically going to work for you and you're going to get all this attention, it doesn't work like that. And the biggest thing that I would hear from a lot of people is, the algorithm's against me, the algorithm doesn't work. And to be quite honest with you, when you break it down, what is the algorithm? The algorithm is people. If people are not liking your content, it's because you're not resonating with them. It's because you're not providing value, you're not interesting. It's something that honestly, they're just bored. Maybe your delivery, your hook. There's so many things that you have to integrate and do many iterations to hit on that. And that pause for me that I took, it was a long pause, but it was a studying period. It was my monk mode, where I sat down, I analyzed, okay, where do I want to be? What is the market missing? How can I fill that void within the market? And then honestly getting out there and doing it. And for most people who start content, I want to say that the hardest part is not even making the content. The hardest part here is breaking away from your limiting beliefs, thinking that content is not for you or this social media game is not for you. Social media is for anybody who's willing to do it. I've seen people tell me that you need to have a personality to do it. Yeah, I mean, it all depends. The biggest trait in your personality is the willingness to learn, to be consistent, to adapt, and then be open to hearing criticisms and being your own worst critic. And one of the things that I started doing is if I create my own piece of content, I deliberately look at it, and I look at it multiple times. And if I get bored at any moment in the whole entire review process, I delete the whole video because it doesn't make sense. There's no point of me even just putting it out there, because if I lost my own attention listening to myself talk, what makes you think that somebody else is going to look at it? So the pause that I took that you brought up was very important. It was crucial, but it was the building blocks for where I'm at today and for future ideas and concepts that I have going into the future.
Love that, love that. And when you call it, you called it monk mode. When you went into your monk mode, what were some of the biggest things that you were looking for within yourself and that you laid out on the table to properly put yourself in a place to say, okay, this is what I need to do? What are some things that people can use that you use for yourself that can be an impact for them?
The biggest thing is embracing that whenever you're going to do something new, removing the fallacy that whatever project you get into, whether it could be exciting in the beginning, we all have the mindset that it's going to go up immediately. We start a new business, we get a new relationship, we do something completely different, it's exciting, fresh, and we all have that mindset that's going to shoot up. But in reality, that's not how it is. When you get into any new endeavor, the first thing that happens, it goes down because there's a learning curve. If you've gone into real estate, you don't have a book of business, it's going to take you a year to build up a pipeline. If you open up a business, it's going to take you a while to build up the pipeline. If you're doing social media, it's going to take you a while to learn because it's a different art, it's a different skill set. I think the biggest thing here is just removing your own negative self-talk. When you're creating content, it's important that to understand people are going to criticize. Your family's going to look at you. They're going to say, what are you doing on social media? You're not that type of person. What are you doing? Which luckily for me, I didn't have that conversation, but I had people look and be like, all right, wow, like this is cute. This is interesting that you're doing this. But when you have that voice and you see something, I think the hardest part is going after it and being able to embrace it. And most people get scared because, like myself, the moment you create that content, it's out there for everybody to see, which also puts a lot of pressure on you because you got to bring your A game. The information you provide, whether it's informational, whether it's entertaining, it has to be spot on. You got to take it serious, and you have to be willing to embrace criticism because criticism is just feedback, and be open to learn. If you cannot take that type of critique, then social media may not be for you. But if you're trying to grow a business and you're an entrepreneur, you have to embrace the age that we're in, especially when it comes to podcasting, because what I like the most about what you're doing, Anthony, and why I think Dan and yourself have created such an innovative platform is that podcasting is the ultimate way to view into the soul of a potential client or potential person that you maybe want to work with. Because I don't know, for example, if I'm an attorney, I don't know if I want to work with you. What are your morals? What are your character? What are your values? Most people don't really care about price. They care, can they trust you? Are you going to screw me over in the transaction? And when I'm able to go and sit down on my desk, have a bowl of cereal, and I'm looking for a realtor, an attorney, a doctor, another entrepreneur, a marketer, whatever it is, if I can understand what they're saying and they translate to me confidence, value, transparency, I'm going to do business with them. And I know that wasn't your question, but I wanted to tie that in together of how something like this is needed within the creator economy today and for business owners to embrace this.
I appreciate that. No, and it's I think there's one of the things when it comes to sitting down and having a conversation and sharing that in the creator economy when you're posting it on social media is that when you do stuff like this, especially when it comes into a longer format, there's really no hiding what you know and what you don't know, right? I think it's one of those things where you can tell what is real and you could tell what is fake, right? With a snippet of a video, you can manipulate that to be angled at any direction or way that you want it to appear, and it doesn't, and it can move somebody in the wrong direction without even them knowing that the information shared to them wasn't even factual, right? Or wasn't even 100% valuable. Whereas if you watch a video where you can actually sit down and listen to a conversation that's longer. There's more intention behind it, more context to it. You can actually realize and be like, okay, this person knows what they're doing. You can have a better judgment on the individual. Do they know what they're doing? Do they know what they're talking about? Are they confident when they speak? Are they sharing true, insightful information? Is it valuable? And does it speak to me? And that's something that I think when you do these kind of things, it's a really way to separate the true professionals with the ones that want to be professionals, or they just want the limelight of being a professional, an influencer, or creator, whatever it is that you're striving to be. Now, you mentioned criticizing. You mentioned criticism, and one of the things that you're mentioning, and I'm actually going to tie it back to one of the things we were talking before, is you mentioned how you sit there and you look at your video multiple times and you critique it, right? So it's almost like you're criticizing your own content, right? And I know you also probably were talking about other people giving their criticism, their feedback. So no, I want to start with you first. What are some of the things that you do when you're criticizing your own content? Do you have a checklist? Like when you scan it, is it like boom, 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 boom? Or is it more just like the feeling you get? How does that criticism for yourself take into effect? And then when it's hearing the healthy criticism from people outside, how do you put that into your future creation of content, but as well understanding, okay, what is real good criticism from an audience, and what is criticism that is just somebody just trying to bring you down? So I just, if you can elaborate a little bit on that.
So I think for me, I don't really have a specific process. I know that you'll listen to a lot of different people out there and they'll say, hey, use AI to figure out the best hooks or this and that. Honestly, it's when you look at a piece of content, you have to see yourself as a storyteller, as a director. You're creating a video, and when you're creating it, people like to throw the word influencer. Yeah, that's I don't think that's the right word. If you're in this game and you love it, you're becoming a storyteller. You're grabbing something that's maybe not that interesting and then turning into something that is interesting and bringing energy. At the end of the day, content is about eliciting an emotion. And it's important that when you're reviewing your content, you're creating it, you want to look at it. At least for me, I go with intuition. If I'm looking at a video and I don't feel some type of, oof, this is interesting, or oof, wow, I don't know, or, you start feeling these sensations like this is a great idea, or man, I didn't know about this. It's the most important thing is to be objective. Not look at your content and then consume it subjectively and be like, man, I look good on that angle. I look fantastic. 90% of people do not really care with how you're looking. They're listening and digesting and how you're presenting it. That's the most important thing. So yeah, you can look like a bum in the street, but if you're bringing real deep value, I mean, there's videos out there where you'll see a homeless guy give a very insightful,
I've seen those.
very stoicism comment about life, and you're like, wow, a homeless guy is giving me a tremendous gem about life. Maybe I can apply it to myself. So it's more about the delivery of the content and how that made you feel. And I want people to understand that content storytelling is about how you feel. That's why we pay to go to movies. You watch Dune, you watch Batman, you're like, man, that guy's a badass. I love that James Bond. I want to go and buy an Aston Martin. I can't afford it, but man, I want to get an Omega watch, something. Same thing with an athlete. That's why Nike sells you the story, the vision. I want to buy a pair of shoes like LeBron James. I want to be like MJ. And that's the important thing of content. And now when it comes to criticism, bringing that back together from a third party, you're going to have people in every walk of life that's going to tell you something. The important thing is who's the person that's giving you the feedback, and are they capable of giving you real objective advice? Now, a lot of us like to go to family to get some of that objective criticism, but family doesn't know, especially when we're doing content. It's a very scary thing, especially if people are not doing it, and they already have a predisposed idea of how it's supposed to look on television, clean cut, this or that. You want to break out of the traditional status quo, and if you're going to take advice, you want to take advice from people that, at least for my experience, people who are doing it. That's number one. You want to take advice from that. But I think the best teacher is your own failures. And failure is a great thing. And I know it sounds so generic, like everybody says that, but the failure is just learning. So for example, an AI, artificial intelligence, the way that they train ChatGPT and all these different platforms is by failing multiple times. And we're talking about billions a second. But what happens? The algorithm or the AI itself starts learning and adapting like, hey, I'm not going to go this way. I'm not going to go this way. I'm not going to go this way. I'm not going to say this word. I should have put this verb here. And then it starts learning from its mistakes quickly. So the key here is how can I iterate on what my failures are, learn it very fast, and adapt. If it's not working, adapt and become your own biggest critic. Most people at the end of the day, they're giving you advice. You got to be very careful who you're taking opinions from. The biggest opinion is from yourself. So that's my biggest takeaway there.
Love that. So for you personally, what was one big failure that you experienced during this process of building what you've built today that's catapulted you forward?
I think when you start posting on social media and you're like, man, especially when you're really taking it serious and you see zero movement. So you see, like, you go on TikTok, it's like, all right, 200 views, one like from a random, I don't know what it is, a bot or whatever it is. You don't even know where it's from. That's great experience, because what you do is you start understanding, okay, this isn't working, so how can I create something more captivating? And then you go to the rabbit hole of doing research. Then you start finding out what makes sense for your content, maybe grabbing content that's from other industries. So if you look into, for example, you can start looking into the wellness space, or you can start looking into the finance space. Whatever it is, there's great content, even a random person talking. You can have I've seen great content creators, female health coaches, where the way that they break things down, you're like, man, I really like the structure of how she did that and how people resonated with this thing. Let me flip it and maybe put it for my content. Or I like how this guy really broke down and explained this very complicated process to training. And I like how he broke down macros, all that. Let me start breaking things down for my content. Or you start going to finance. So there's so many ways. It's being open-minded. You don't have to look at your industry for inspiration. You can look, honestly, what's the content that you're consuming?
All powerful things. And not to flip things over to more on the real estate side, and how you've used your content to really separate yourself from other agents, other brokers in this field, because let's be honest, it's a very crowded market. And you got a lot of people participating in it, whether they know what they're doing or not, or they're trying to figure it out. For you, I think something right away, and I think that's why a lot of people resonate or they connect with your content, is there's already a huge shift in the way that you deliver yourself as a professional in the real estate market versus the typical real estate agent or broker. It's kind of obvious, right? Just how you present yourself, already how you're just like, how you're talking to the people, from what you're wearing to the approach to like being in the action, right? Being there in the actual action, getting your hands dirty. For me, those are things that stick out right away. When you were figuring this all out and you were putting together the angle that you wanted to really hit in the real estate space to separate yourself from anybody else creating content in this market, what were the first things that went through your head when you were laying this out and planning this out, that you were just like looking over here and you're like, I don't want to do this, I want to do this, this is not for me, this is for me? What were some of those things that just like really instantly hit you, and then how'd you start carving that out?
So one of my favorite books I ever read was 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. And he's a co-founder of many businesses. He's one of the early investors in Facebook, Palantir, a lot of different companies. And in his book, which I highly recommend entrepreneurs make the purchase, because it's definitely going to change your perspective. But when he talks about what is going to be the business, or what's going to be the thing that you're going to separate yourself, there's already a crowded market. Everybody's going through one door. So think about it like this. You're in a castle and everybody, the barbarians, are at the door. But not everyone's coming through. If you have the guards that are there, everyone's funneling in. Think about like 300 with the Spartans versus the Persians. They're being slaughtered because they're all running through the same thing. Now, in his book, he says, what is the key element? Instead of you going through that door, how can you go around it? And going around it is removing yourself from where the competition is going and being ahead of where no one else is looking. And that's the most important thing. Is my approach with creating content is, how can you be radically different from your competitors, from the people that you're creating content? At the end of the day, there is no such thing as competitor. I don't believe in that, because social media is such a unique platform where if people like you, they're going to ride with you. And yeah, they may have 5 other people that they follow in the same genre, but if they like you, they're going to ride with you. There's plenty of opportunities here. There's so many different avenues that you can take your content into. It's being different and unique where you can go through a complete different direction. When you look at content, at least for me, is how can I be completely different? Yes, real estate's saturated. I think there's a metric out there that everybody says it actually, that everyone in Miami knows a realtor. Everyone's a realtor. Even the guy working the grocery store is a realtor. And that's great. I embrace that because that tells me that there's so many realtors that do not know what they're talking about. There's so many people in this industry that they've saturated, unfortunately, yes, but it's a great opportunity for you to stand out because the value proposition that you're going to give your clients. Yes, are you becoming a more informed agent? Are you doing the work that you need to do? Unfortunately, 95% are not even doing the heavy lifting. There's a stat that came out that most agents, they will not do a transaction. They may do one transaction a year, which is, it's terrible. Like, that's why we have the highest failure rate in almost any industry that you look into. But those agents that really stand out and do what they need to do, they're going to kill it. I've seen creativity within the luxury space. There's agents killing it with their content, how they're doing it. I've seen agents doing commercial. I've seen agents doing retail. I've seen people doing rents. There's so many different things. It's finding your specific niche and honestly what you like creating at the end of the day. And then just being radically different. You know, real estate, for example, is such a big umbrella and you can cover so many things. If you're a property manager, what makes your property management skills so interesting that, or make it appealing where I have an association, I'm a board of association member. How can I bring you maybe to run our building? And those are just like ideas, but it's being creative and thinking about outside the box and not going through the same door that everybody else is running through.
Amazing. And what can people expect from Bryan speaking at our next Kinetic event, which is going to be April 26th, starting at 6:30 p.m. So we hope to see you all there. What can people expect? What are some of the things that you want to share? What are some of the talking points? Just to, you know, give people a little bit of tease of what they'll be listening into.
I think the biggest thing that I want to leave people off with is that social media is a great tool and amplifier to what you're already doing. And the key here is to embrace the suck that comes with it, because it's a skill set. You need to learn the skill set. But if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, how do you leverage that to expand your reach, how to create your own unique voice, and what are the frameworks or mindset shifts you need to encompass in order to start on this journey? Because social media, unfortunately for most people, they feel they can't do it. And the hardest part, which I faced it for a long time, it's your negative talk, your own limiting beliefs of what you can create, and just going out there and putting in. Those are just some of the things that I want to talk about. And then how industries are adapting so quickly in social media that if you do not find your own specific niche in it, you're going to get left behind. I mean, even government agencies now are doing podcasts. Like I'm seeing, you know, for example, we have Mayor Suarez and elected leaders. They have own built-in podcast studios to talk to their communities. This is the new form. So pretty soon, this is already changed everything. I just had a conversation the other day, random. I'm gonna deviate from this, but I spoke to a 13-year-old, and randomly the group was talking about CDs, and the 13-year-old doesn't even know what a CD is.
Crazy.
It's crazy to think about that.
Crazy to think already how old we are.
Exactly. We had dial-up internet. We had the Nokia phone. We had basically we're caught in that weird transition of technology, but the future generation, the children, they're growing up in this. I'm seeing kids at 2 years old with an iPad in their hand scrolling, and
they know how to use it better than us.
They know how to use it better than us. So how are you not using it? Because that's the future generation that's coming up. That's the future consumer that's coming into the industry. And if you position yourself and you're in this long enough, you're going to outlast all your competitors. You just have to have the drive, the will, and connect with people like this, like nucleus, so you can have a good nucleus as you're growing. And then you can become the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell, and then grow.
I love it, man. Bro, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming here to spend time with us. Share some of your insights, what people would be expecting, your journey, and of course, being able to have you at the next Kinetic event on April 26th at 6:30 p.m., where people will be not only be able to listen to what you're saying and engage in the panel as well and ask questions, but actually be able to have the opportunity to sit down with you in one of these rooms and create content, which I just want to let everybody know. You have that opportunity to come here, sit down with one of our amazing speakers, Bryan being one of them, and actually ask them questions and create content with them. The way that we're creating it right now, which is something you could take home with you, right? How many times you get an opportunity to speak to somebody who you look up to or that you're learning from or that you've wanted to ask them a question or or just get insight from and actually create content and walk away with that where you could share it on your social media or have it as a little value piece, a little memorable piece that you could take with you and you can always look at and share it and say, I remember when I was there and the value that I got from that. So, brother, if you can quickly just plug in your socials, your contact, where people can find you, connect with you, and then maybe if you could throw them a little bit of what to expect next from Bryan.
So if you guys want to connect with me, it's pretty simple. It's my first and last name, Bryan Garita, BryanGorrita. You can put that on any social media platform. You're going to find me. Just follow. Primarily, I'm on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And I'm focusing now on LinkedIn, but we're going to see how that goes. I'm trying to figure out, learn that whole system because every social media platform, unfortunately, there's a learning curve to it. And then the future content is going to be very interesting. I have a lot of spicy things that I'm working on.
Can't wait.
That it's really going to bring a lot of value to those who live in Miami, and then it's gonna be very interesting. For those who are watching this, who follow my social media, who see all my content, I want to say I appreciate you all because I wouldn't be here today doing the things I'm doing if it wasn't for the community that I have supporting, providing me information, reaching out to me, and honestly just networking. And I love making content for you guys because I know you enjoy it. So thank you for everything, Anthony and the Nucleus community. Let's get after it. Be excited to see you guys here.
Bryan, I appreciate it. Guys, make sure you go check him out. Go show him some love. Send him a message. He will connect with you. Go consume his content. And who knows, you might be able to then show him. Because Bryan, hey, I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of people that'll send Bryan properties and stuff like that they want him to talk about. Maybe there might be one you send him and he talks about it next. So you never know. But, brother, it's a pleasure again. Thank you so much. Can't wait for the Kinetic event.
Thank you, brother. Let's do this.